The movie starts at a cemetery in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. A man named Jose Angelo is burying the coffin of his daughter Pia Angelo. When he got home, he kept a photo, keys and other items in a red wallet. Suddenly, the police came to raid Jose's house. He tried to escape but the police chased him. The police shot him in the leg until he was cornered. He threw his precious wallet in a garbage truck. Moments later, the garbage truck arrived at the garbage dump. A scavenger boy named Rafael finds the wallet that was thrown away by Jose. While resting, Rafael shares some of the money he found with his friend Gardo. In addition to finding money, he also found ID cards, lottery, drawings of animals, a key and other items. While elsewhere, Jose is being interrogated about the contents of the wallet he threw away, but he did not want to reveal it and was eventually killed by the police. At the garbage dump, Rafael intends to stop by the church for a while where he meets his tutor Olivia. Then Gardo caught up with him. He gave the money he had earned earlier to buy a piece of chicken so they could have a good meal that night. Moments later, the police led by Frederico came to the garbage dump to look for Jose's missing wallet. He met with Gardo, who at that time asked to be photographed. Gardo interrogated why so many policemen had come there and Frederico explained that they were looking for a lost wallet. The policeman added that the wallet was a very important piece of evidence. Frederico then offers some money if anyone finds the wallet. He then asked their names and Gardo introduced himself. In the evening, Gardo advised Rafael to hand over the red wallet immediately so they could get a reward, but Rafael refused. He was sure that the wallet had something valuable since the police were willing to come to the garbage dump to look for it. He thought the longer the wallet is gone the higher the fee will be. He invites Gardo to meet his old friend and they go into a rundown sewer. Inside, they meet a man named Gabriel. Rafael asks Gabriel to help him in finding the valuable thing in the wallet. Gabriel showed them the key from inside the wallet and that was probably what the police were looking for. Gabriel was willing to find out about the key if Rafael was ready to share the prize equally. Rafael finally agreed. The next day, the three of them took a train to reach a city. They passed through the passage to a place but their path was blocked by the thugs who controlled the area. Having no money, Gabriel handed over his necklace so they were allowed to pass. They arrived at the end of the hall and apparently the road was a passage to a train station. Gabriel said that the key from the wallet was probably the key to the locker at the station. They intended to open the locker but there was a policeman on duty. So Gardo took the initiative to distract the police and pretended to be a pickpocket and the police started chasing him. Meanwhile, Gabriel and Rafael opened the locker with the key. They found a white envelope inside the locker and ran away immediately, while the curious slackers also followed them. Finally, they managed to escape and met again on the train. Gardo looks at the envelope they got. It was addressed to an inmate named João Clemente in prison. They also found letters and photos of Jose Angelo and his daughter. Behind the photo there were secret numbers. Long story short, they had arrived at the house of a priest named Juilliard. Secretly they used Pastor Juilliard's computer and looked up Joel Clemente's profile. Meanwhile in the living room, Gabriel tried to distract Juilliard and Olivia. According to Google, it is known that Joel Clemente was a former lawyer who was later imprisoned for some reason. Rafael then prints information about the man and they run away. Meanwhile at the dump, Frederico continues his search. He ordered the scavengers to look for the lost wallet but in vain. He asks a boy about Rafael and Gardo. The boy says that they didn't come to work that day. In the evening, Rafael plans to meet Joel Clemente the next day but unexpectedly, the police kidnapped Rafael and took him away. Gardo and Gabriel, who knew about it, immediately reported it to Priest Juilliard. Meanwhile on a quiet street, Rafael is taken out of the car and his head is banged against the car. The police asked Rafael to show him where the wallet was but Rafael remained silent. Frederico told his members to cover Rafael's head and put him in the car. His hands and feet were tied. The police immediately drove the car recklessly which made Rafael stumble in it. Elsewhere, Juilliard and Gardo came to the police station and searched for Rafael but the police on duty said no children were there. Meanwhile in the car with Frederico, Rafael admits that he found the wallet. Frederico then asked what was inside the wallet but Rafael just kept quiet. So he was put in the trunk of the car and again the police took his car wildly until he was in pain. Back at home, Juilliard and Gardo returned empty-handed. They failed to find Rafael. Juilliard prayed to God to protect Rafael. At a quiet crossroads Rafael is dropped off by Frederico. He ordered his man to kill Rafael and left that place. One of the police officers points his gun and prepares to kill Rafael but the cop didn't have the heart to do it so he let Rafael live and left the place. The next day the residents found Raphael was dying. He was carried on a stretcher and taken home to Pastor Juilliard, and the wounds on his body began to be treated. Gabriel then asked if Raphael would give up, but Raphael said that he wouldn't give up until he died. In the evening, Olivia comes home and is surprised to see Raphael and his friends at her house. Gardo explains that Raphael has just been beaten up by the police and he needs justice. Gardo asks Olivia to see a lawyer the next day who is Gardo's own grandfather. Moments later, Raphael said that he remembered something. The police had previously spoken of a man named Santos Gabriel. He said that he knew someone named Santos, a dirty politician who wants to be the mayor of the city and lived in an area near the coast. The next day, Raphael and Gabriel went to Santos' house. Meanwhile, Gardo and Olivia set off for the prison. Long story short, Gardo and Olivia arrive at the prison. The officer forbade Gardo to enter because he was still a child, but Gardo said that he wanted to visit his grandfather. Finally the officer allowed and they were brought in. They met someone who turned out to be João Clemente. Gardo gave the last message from José Angelo that he still remembers in the letter where José expressed his longing for his uncle João Clemente. José also said that the person who imprisoned João would soon be caught and promised that Santos would finish. José said that João's fight against corruption would continue. He also says if the message reaches him it means that José is dead. At the end of his letter José apologized if he had been a burden to João Clemente. While elsewhere at Santos' house Raphael and Gabriel have arrived. There they met a gardener. There were many security guards standing. Gabriel asks why Santos' house is so tightly guarded and the gardener said that Santos had just lost a valuable item. Someone named José Angelo had stolen 10 million reals and brought other important items. The gardener told the chronology. One day Santos had a meeting at his house about his candidacy for mayor. Santos bribed the official to get him elected. José is entrusted with keeping Santos' money and important books in a secret room, but in the evening José accidentally breaks Santos' refrigerator and suggests replacing the refrigerator with a new one. Later José took action to steal the money as well as the book list of people who had received bribes from Santos. He put all the money in the refrigerator and paid a courier to deliver the broken refrigerator to his house. This was the reason why José is so wanted by the police. Back in the present, Gardo tells João about the numbers behind José's photo. João said he knew about the numbers which were a secret code from José. To solve it João needed a Bible, but the guard did not allow it because the visiting hours were up. The guard promised to give the Bible if he returned the next day. João left his last message to Gardo that he was sure that José's codes would be solved. Gardo only needed to sort the verses and numbers in the Bible, then the code would be solved. Gardo then exits the cell and intends to go home, but an officer named Marco stops him. He demanded a ransom of 1,000 reals if Gardo wanted João Clemente's Bible. Shortly they all arrived home. Olivia asks Raphael and his friends why they were doing all this. Raphael says this is all to uncover the truth. Olivia then offered them to make a record and they were ready too. In the video they told all the incidents they had experienced, such as Raphael being beaten by the police. Meanwhile, Frederico received a call from Santos. He wanted his books and money to be found soon. Santos ordered Federico to destroy the residence of Raphael and his friends. Moments later, the police came to raid Olivia's residence. Federico looked for the stolen wallet but it wasn't there. Federico then took Olivia for safekeeping. All the residential areas were burned by the police. Raphael and Gardo could only watch their house disappear from a distance. Then they decided to return to the city to take the Bible from Marco, but they didn't know how because they didn't have money. On the way home, they saw residents who were victims of the fire. Residents flocked to the fleet of the church. Gabriel entered Juilliard's room and took the priest's money. When Juilliard returned to his room, he saw that the money was gone. Gabriel left a piece of paper with his name on it with a sad face. Gabriel returns and gives the stolen money to Raphael. They used the money to redeem the Bible from Marco. The next day, Raphael drew up a well-thought-out plan for Gardo and left. Gardo meets Marco at a restaurant to redeem his Bible, but it turns out that Marco knows their plan and he takes Gardo into custody. They were hiding somewhere starving. Gardo went out for a while to look for food. That night, Raphael and Gabriel try to crack the codes given by José. The numbers lead to a verse from the Bible which then leads them to some animal names. After being matched with animal posters they got a phone number. While at the party Gardo, who was looking for food in the trash, was approached by a woman. Not long after the police came on patrol, Gardo immediately left from there and invited his friends to run away, and when the police arrived Gardo and his friends were gone. They were then led by the woman Gardo had met. She took them to the motorcycle taxi base and they immediately fled from there. In the previous place Federico found Raphael's hiding place. He looked at the numbers previously written by Raphael. Federico then dialed the number. While elsewhere on the side of the road, Raphael stopped for a moment to call the same number, which turned out to be a number referring to a cemetery place called St. Francis. Raphael and his friends rushed towards the cemetery. On arriving, Raphael saw the last clue from Jose. The clue is in the form of a calendar marked on the 6th month of the 17th. Raphael then searches for the grave associated with that number. Outside the fence, Federico too had arrived at that place. Raphael found the same grave with the calendar clues. The grave is numbered 17 and block 6. The grave is named Pia Angelo, who is Jose Angelo's daughter. Suddenly, a girl appeared from behind. She is Pia Angelo. She said she was waiting for her father's arrival. Seeing Pia, who was still alive, Raphael became even more curious and wondered what was in the tomb. Then Raphael left for a while to look for his friends, but when he returned Raphael saw that his friends had been captured by Federico. They were ordered to dismantle Pia's grave, therefore they took the coffin out of the grave and it turns out the chest contains money that has been hidden by Jose. Federico then called Santos. He reported that the money in his book had been found, but from behind Pia brought the concrete and dropped it right on Federico's head. Raphael takes Federico's gun and points it out, but he doesn't kill him. After that they returned to the garbage dump. Raphael and Gardo went to high ground while Gabriel and Pia went to Juilliard's house. Gabriel returned Juilliard's money that he had stolen. When he returned, there was a paper with a picture of Joy left by Gabriel. He also left some money in Juilliard's drawer. Then they handed out the money they got and squandered it in the air. While downstairs, scavengers began to arrive to scavenge the fallen money. The four of them rented a car and left the garbage dump. At church, Olivia returns home and asks the Juilliard how the kids are. He shows the picture left by Gabriel. The picture shows that the children are happy. In addition, Olivia also brought something. She brought a memory card containing a recording of the confession of Raphael and his friends and uploaded the video on the internet so that people would know the rottenness of Santos and the police. Olivia also listed people who had accepted bribes from Santos. A few days later, on a distant beach, Pia is seen watching the news on TV. Santos was arrested for bribery. The police involved were also arrested. The video confession of Raphael and his friends had gone viral everywhere. Finally, the truth was revealed. Raphael, Gardo, Gabriel and Pia finally live happily. From Raphael, Gardo and Gabriel we can learn that we shouldn't judge a person only from the outside. Maybe the three of them weren't Thais, but they had a caring and kind attitude, unlike Santos and Federico, who were crazy about corruption.